Hey everyone, it's Rob Foglia and Jessica Klein with Properties at Keller Williams Realty here in Nashville, and we're coming to you today to answer probably the biggest question that we're getting in today's market, and that is they want people who want to make a move, and they're saying like, "There's no homes to buy. Are there homes to buy?" We want to answer that question and kind of walk through this with everybody. You ready to jump in and get started, Jessica?
Yeah, I'm really excited to answer this question because, like you said, this is what everyone is talking about right now. I'm sure you've seen all the memes on Facebook, and I'm sure that you've had conversations with your friends, and everybody is talking about, I have this house to sell and it's a great market to sell. Where do I move and can I move? So yes, let's talk about this.
Awesome. And we want to make sure that every single one of these videos and every time we're advising or giving I don't even want to say giving an opinion yet, giving somewhat of our opinion on what's going on. We want to give you some statistics. We want to give you the reality. We want to give you the real information, not just our opinion. So a couple of real quick statistics to show why we're in a low inventory market. Right here, we're looking at the months of supply and we just pulled up a city in the area, Murfreesboro. And you can see months of supply, it's 1.2 months of supply, which is very, very low. In a nutshell, what that means is that if no other homes were to ever hit the market, they're in 1.2 months, so basically about 5 weeks, all the homes that are out there would be sold. Now, the reality is while this means it's a low inventory market, every single day there are homes that are being listed and homes that are selling too, and we're going to get into that in just a second. And yet what this shows is this is a fantastic time to sell, and as long as we're on the ball and you want to make a move, it's a great time to buy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have it pulled up in a separate tab, but what we'd like to do today is just walk through what it looks like if you have that house to sell. And as we're seeing in this graph, it's a great time to do it. What does it look like when you're ready to buy?
Yeah, and because you can see right here when you're ready to buy, I mean, yes, inventory is down. I mean, it's down at least just in Murfreesboro, 61%. Okay, this time over last year. That means yes, there are fewer options, and yet at the same time, to answer that question, where do you go next? There are options, and so I do have a real quick search pulled up, and basically it was a hypothetical client that we had that said, "Hey, I want to buy a home in Murfreesboro, $400,000 or less." At least 2,000 square feet, built in the last 10 years. I mean, pretty solid wish list, right, Jessica? I mean, is that out of, I mean, pretty normal for the area, pretty good price point, newer home, decent sized home as well. It's definitely something that should be attainable for a lot of people. And you can see there are a whole 5 options out there. I know that's not a ton. It might not sound like a ton. And yet that's as the market sits right this second. So 5 options right this second. In an hour, there could be more, there could be less. We don't know what the future is going to hold. However, what we can look at is what the past looks like. And so we're going to do this live, and I wanted to do it live on purpose for people so they could see exactly what's happening. What I'm pulling up right now are the same parameters that we just looked at. So again, where there's 5 homes that are active to choose from if you were looking right this second. However, I'm going to also include homes that are coming soon, homes that are under contract as well. And you can see we went from 5 homes to 132 homes. So meaning there were a ton of options here recently as well. Now some of these homes that are under contract, and I'll briefly pull up the list here. Some of these homes that are under contract, they've been under contract for a couple of months. Maybe they were new construction. So while that might skew things a little bit, what I want to just do is filter this by listed date. And there's a reason for that. And I want to show you all that if we had this conversation today, yes, maybe there's only 5 homes available. And yet if we had this conversation 2 weeks ago, so I mean, basically where my mouse is, there's 12, 13 options, between 2 weeks ago and today. And so while in the market that we were in, say 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you might have seen 13 options instead of 5 options pop up at one given time. Those 13 options still exist. It's just a little bit more spread out. Was what I'm saying making sense, Jessica?
Yeah, so just to summarize, what I'm picking up on you saying here is, if I'm someone who is going to buy a home, regardless of whether I'm listing or not, instead of it taking a week to find the perfect home, we're just going to stretch that same, the 12 houses that were available at any given time last year or the year before, we're going to stretch that out over, say, a month. And those same houses are going to be available. It'll just take a little longer to see them.
Absolutely, well said. And I'll just pull up the active homes again, just so we have something exciting to look at other than just text on a screen. And yet, you're 100% right, Jessica. And the reason for that, and the reason what I want to share with everybody is that the real estate market, when you're buying a home, it's a little bit more of what I consider a fluid market than and I guess a static market. I don't know if I've ever really talked with you about that, Jessica, or what I mean when I say that. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
That is a new term to me, so I'd love to know what you're getting at there.
Sure. So let's just compare it to another big purchase that people make. And it's a completely different process. And yet, let's just say you were buying a new car. Like say you and Jack, you were like, hey, we're going to buy a brand new truck. Like you want to buy a new truck. You're likely going to have a budget in mind. You've already said, I want to buy a new truck. So you have a limited amount of options. While there are some options, you could go buy a Chevy truck, a Dodge truck, a Ford, a Toyota, a Jeep Gladiator. You've got a certain number of options, and then based on your budget, that's going to narrow down options as well. Are you following me so far?
Yeah.
And so, just say you've got 3 to 5 options that you're interested in. Unless for some reason you don't like any of those options, that's all you have to choose from. And that's what I mean in terms of the static market. It's almost like I don't want to say a fixed market, but other consumables, not consumables, other consumer goods, I used to say, you've got a finite number of options, whereas the real estate market is fluid. Right now, as the market sits, there are 5 options for somebody to buy if they're interested in a home that's $400,000 or less in Murfreesboro with at least 2,000 square feet and built in the last 10 years. Tomorrow, there could be 6 options. There could be 3 options. Of these 5, 1 or 2 could be sold, but there could be 1 or 2 more new options that come on the market. That's what I mean by fluid. It's ever changing. There's always something new that's coming about. Now, the market that we're in can be a little deceiving because we might see that there's only 5 homes available at this given moment. However, and there might still be 5 homes available tomorrow, but those could be 5 different homes. So is what I'm saying making sense? Because it's going to give people different options to where if somebody's looking at this and saying, well, maybe I want all my home to be on one level. This right here is the closest one. It's still not all one level. And yet in reality, tomorrow they could see a brick ranch home that becomes available built in the last 10 years. Does that make sense?
Right. So it sounds like you're saying essentially a market that changes very slowly, like cars, like you were saying. I mean, Ford's probably only going to come out with with a new model every year, or maybe a new type of car every decade. So that's super slow moving. And then with this,
you've got an F-150 that comes out in 2021, and if you don't like the 2021 model, you're going to wait until 2022.
Right. Yes. So you can either pick something much older, or you can wait for Ford to come up with something new. And with the housing market, I mean, there are so many options out there, and things change, especially in today's market, very quickly, even at different points during a day.
Exactly, 100%. That's what I'm trying to get across. And so my point being, because I've been speaking to a lot of people recently, which is why I wanted to bring this up. People who've said, yes, I want to move. There's something about my current place that, while it works for me, I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, maybe they want a little bit more privacy, a bigger yard. Maybe they need to right size their home, and they're empty nesters and they have too big of a home for them. Is what I'm getting at. If that's the case, and then they look at what's out there on the market, they see a whole 5 options, think that those aren't enough choices for me. This isn't going to work. The reality is, as long as we're communicating as to what you're looking for, we can find you the right home. You might not see 5 options at one given time that work for you, but we might see one. Again, just that example of if you want everything or mostly everything on one level, we've only got one real option for you of these 5. And yet, by this time next week, we could have seen 2 to 3 more options that are going to fit that criteria. And instead of looking at 5 homes on one given day, we might be looking at one home 5 times. You know what I mean? Or one, what I'm trying to say, one home 5 different times in order to find the right property. Hope that makes sense what I'm trying to get across here.
Yeah, it does. I think that makes perfect sense. And then, something you said just kind of jogged my brain there. In the buying process, which I've actually gone through through our team, and with the help of Rob, asking the right questions. And when we have a set of specific questions that help bring things out, you pulled up this initial search, with the price point and the city and the square feet and the year. But through these questions that we ask, your search might change in a way that brings many more options that you weren't expecting, that you're very happy with.
Exactly. I mean, give you a real quick example before, because I know we're running low on time already, or running long on time, I guess you might say. Give you an example. I spoke with somebody recently who they were thinking about moving out of Nashville, but they want to stay local. They're not moving out of the area, but they want to be out of Davidson County. Initially, their thought was, well, let's look at Franklin. Let's look at Williamson County. And long story short on that, their current home compared to a similar home in Franklin, Franklin's more expensive, and they don't want to be looking at raising their mortgage balance. They don't want to be looking at a higher price. They want to look at a very even trade almost, if you think of it that way. When we get in conversation with a client like that, we know enough to ask questions like, well, have you thought about a Murfreesboro, for instance? Or have you thought, if you're looking in Murfreesboro and you're still not satisfied and you don't mind you say you're flexible on location, maybe we're looking a little further out, like a Christiana or even a Manchester, to find you the right property where your money's going to go a little bit further than, say, a Franklin. Like we love Franklin, nothing wrong with Franklin, just it's more expensive is what we're trying to get at. And so by getting in conversation with us, we're going to be able to ask you the questions that help narrow our focus on what you're actually looking for.
Right, exactly. Or, what is it about that 3-car garage that you must have? And well, I want some space for a workshop. Okay, well, what if there was an unfinished basement with outdoor access? That kind of thing.
Yeah. What if there's room to build a workshop out back? I mean, there are a lot of options that might work. And especially in a market like today, if you're selling and buying, you're going to have a ton of equity that you can then pour into your next property. That doesn't mean it all goes for a down payment. Maybe it's to put that fence in the backyard if you absolutely need the fence. Maybe it is to build that workshop, as you mentioned, Jessica. I mean, there are a lot of options that are out there, as long as we're just being open and honest and having that communication that we should have.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been very helpful. I love that I have this new term to work with, fluid markets, and I hope that we helped everybody a little bit today with just understanding how the market's working, and there are options out there, whether you're just buying maybe your first home or whether you have a home to sell as well. So it's absolutely possible.
Absolutely. And if we could just leave y'all with one parting thought, stay positive in the market. While yes, inventory is down, if you truly do want to buy a home and take advantage of, or make a move, I should say, and take advantage of the fact that your value of your current place is up and your equity is high, and you can then pour that equity into your new place or with the certain projects you want to do. If you're serious about wanting to do it, I promise you we can make it happen. I mean, I'm 100% confident that we have the ability to make that happen, even when inventory is down by 61% in this example. It's possible, and we've been successful with our clients this year, and we can do it for you as well.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. Well, I guess let's end it like we always do. If people have questions or if they would like our help buying or selling, where should they go?
Well, they should reach out to us. So if they're seeing this on Facebook, comment, PM us. We're happy to help. If you're getting this through email, hit reply and talk to us, because we're happy to help that way as well. You can also call 615-591-5665. Email us info@foliaproperties.com. And we're grateful to even just provide you information or start guiding you down the right path or start planning. That's what we're here for. So reach out however we can be of service. We want to be of service.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.